ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवते उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। नमः पंकजनाभाय नमः पंकजमालिने नमः पंकजनेत्राय नमस्ते पंकजांग्रहे। ओम ज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मायं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिन् इति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna.
Hare
So
Krishna.
Hare
all
Krishna.
Krishna.
today again on our session on Srimad Bhagavatam. So we are actually going towards ending of Canto 2. Here, I think today's is kind of almost a bit what we have already discussed, but a new conversation between two great souls, and even Lord Krishna. Vishnu comes up here and advises to Lord Brahma. That we will be seeing today. So before starting, as we discussed yesterday about the creation, from where we seen that Krishna expanded himself into many folds, and then material cosmos getting created, where we seen the three Purusha avatar. From three Purusha avatar, the one Mahavishnu provides the all ingredient, and then from Garbhoda Kashai Vishnu, Lord Brahma comes up, and then he creates this thing. So in today's discussion, we will be understanding more about how Lord Brahma get inspiration to create everything, because you need some knowledge, isn't it? We need some knowledge to do everything, to create anything. Even you want to do some art and craft also, we need to learn something. We need to know where to use our pen, pencil, scales, and how to cut the cardboard and join those things. So we need to learn those things as well. And how did Brahma got those knowledges? Today we will be going through that. Before onto that, the question already had we earlier that Vishnu comes from Krishna, Krishna comes from Vishnu. I hope yesterday it might have been cleared, but again I'll repeat it. So Vishnu, there are unlimited Vishnus. As many we see universes, there's many Vishnus as well. And Chaitanya Charitamrita explains the four hands of Vishnu. They are all with Chaturbhuja, 400 Vishnus. And whenever they change the sequence of their disc, club, and Gada and Padma, so the name gets changed, right? So when we say, is Krishna is incarnation of Vishnu? So this is not completely actually. So how it happens is, in the material world, whomsoever comes, like all the incarnations who comes, they come through Vishnu. So that is why we know, we say that no, Vishnu is an incarnation of Krishna. The complete understanding is that, let's take an example. Let's suppose when someone comes to our house or home, when we invite, so we open our door, the person comes through the door, isn't it? So actually the person existed before coming to the door. He entered into the door, and he came in our house. So this cosmos is created by Vishnu, and when Krishna comes, so that is the door, because it's been created by Vishnu, so he comes through Vishnu. But the proper understanding is that Krishna existed before creation as well. Just now he's entering through the door as our guest enters to our house with the doors. But before the door, the person, our guest, was actually existing. Right? In a similar way, Krishna, he existed before, but when he comes in the material world, he takes the door through Vishnu. So normally we understand that Vishnu is the incarnation of Krishna. That's not incorrect, but the complete understanding is that it is, but Krishna actually existed and Vishnu is the real incarnation of Krishna. So that we understood yesterday through the slides, taking from many of the scriptures, Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, as well as Chaitanya Charitamrita. That's it, composed on that things. So moving ahead, in chapter 8, Parikshit Maharaj, after hearing the conversation between Narad Muni and Brahmaji, he wanted to get some more as well. He wanted to know more. He said, please glorify, please explain me more and more. And he said, if you remember, at the last, I think yesterday we discussed, no, the day before yesterday, after Brahmaji giving the knowledge or information to Narad Muni, he said, now my son, please go and spread this. So please spread the knowledge of Krishna Bhakti. Please spread the knowledge of Bhakti. And then we also see one Sampradaya, that is we discussed in nearly second or third session. The one Sampradaya is also called as Brahma Sampradaya, is coming from Lord Brahma. And is ISKCON, the Society of ISKCON, the Hare Krishna movement, it follows this Sampradaya as well. After that, Parikshit Maharaj asked some more questions. He said, as you told that Narad Muni is being instructed by his father, Brahmaji, to go and spread this. So please narrate me the story how Narad Muni started spreading the message of God. And also, please narrate some auspicious and wonderful pastimes and potencies of Lord Krishna. That was the inquisitive need of Maharaj Parikshit. And he says, I wish to know more and more about Krishna because your words are pleasing to me. And so please explain some more and more. And he narrated a very, very nice verse. He says, Shrunatam Shraddhaya Nityam, means hearing Shrunatam Shraddhaya with faith, Nityam, Nitya. Gunatascha Teshtasam, Kale na nati dirgena Bhagavan Vishate Hardi. So this is one of the glorifications of Srimad Bhagavatam, that person who hears Srimad Bhagavatam regularly, Nityam, regularly, and always take this matter very seriously, will have personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, manifest in their heart within short time. So two qualities, one is seriousness and regularity. So when we regularly hear Srimad Bhagavatam and discuss about Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishna comes to our heart. And that is the kind of seed. Basically, seriousness is also required. It's not just devotion. It actually comes in any field. Whatever you want to know, if you are serious, if you are serious about learning those things, definitely you will have to dedicate your time, dedicate yourself to know more and more. Right. And hence, he said that the seriousness is required. Having said that, he said, what happens when Krishna comes to our heart? How he comes? He says, Pravishta Karna Randrena Swanam Bhava Soruham Dhunoti Samalam Krishna Sailasya Yathasarat. We discussed this verse earlier as well. He said the sound incarnation of Lord Krishna, the super soul or supreme soul, Srimad Bhagavatam himself as well, he enters into the heart of a realized soul through by loving relationship and cleanses the dust of what? Of material associations such as lust, anger, and hankering. Okay, let me move some. Okay, right. So when Krishna enters to our heart, he starts cleaning. What he does, cleans the lust, hankering, and anger. Because in Bhagavad Gita is being said, lust, greed, and anger. These three things are doorway to hell. So these three things actually leads us towards hell. I think it's in chapter 16 or 17 in Bhagavad Gita. So these are the gateway towards hell. And Krishna says that when he enters, he starts cleaning all these things, all the dirt particles. Because the thing is that when Krishna comes to our heart and when we hear Srimad Bhagavatam attentively, regularly, we are actually elevating ourselves towards spiritual planet. And these things, lust, envy, and pride, ego, those things should go away, because we are entering to the spiritual planet and we will be going and serving there, and hence these qualities should be cleaned up, and Krishna takes the charge. Just imagine, Krishna is taking the charge to clean our dust. Only thing we need is hear Srimad Bhagavatam regularly with faith and devotion. That's it. We need to do this much only, and Krishna will do his job. And already we have discussed, when we take one step, Krishna takes 10 steps towards us. And he explained about the example, we discussed the same as well, a muddy water. If you put a muddy water in a glass and start putting, running water in that, gradually, that water the muddy water will go away, and we'll see the clean water. And hence, the quality is we see Krishna through our ears. That's the qualification that a spiritual master gives us, that we need to see Krishna through our ears, and by ears we hear the nectar, it goes to our heart. I want to anyway, there is one nice example one devotee was giving, a senior devotee, realized souls. He said that he was selling, I said this example earlier in our Gita Lab session. He said there were someone was selling dolls, right? So the 4 dolls, identical dolls, everything is same. First one is free, second one is 10 pound, third one is 100 pound, and fourth one is 1000 pound. But the condition was there, you need to buy everything at the same time. So means you need to pay 1110 rupees and get the 4 dolls. One of the person, he said, what's the mystery behind it? The weight, the size, and the look and feel, everything look exactly same. So why is the price difference? One you are saying giving is free and one is 1000 pound. Then he explained, the doll seller, he got one small iron rod, or maybe you can say, he put the iron rod into the ear of the first doll, which was free, and that rod was not going inside. So that's the one thing. And then second one, he tried to put the rod here into one ear, and the rod came out through the second ear. The second doll is 10 pound. In the third rod, he said, okay, he put into one. However, the second the rod could not go out from the second ear. It means something is happening in the heart, and he starts speaking about that, what he has hearing from one ear. However, the fourth one, who is actually 1000 pound, what happens? It enters through the both ears and goes to the heart, and then comes out through the mouth. It means what? It is basically what saying that the kind of mundane talks what we do in general, in the newspaper or chit chat, or we waste so many times with unnecessary talking, which really, when we go and analyze, the talks were useless. So those were kind of free, and we get so many free things as well. Free, and 10 pound goes from here sometimes and go out from here, no care, nothing is there. And the fourth one, that is the Krishna Katha. When we hear, it hears from Karna Randhena, it goes from our ears, and then actually it goes to our heart, and Krishna starts cleaning it. And when Krishna starts cleaning it, we start spreading the message to everyone, because you get purified as well. That is the glories of Krishna Katha, right? And that one been explained by one of the devotee very nicely, that how Krishna Katha purifies the soul. And then Parikshit Maharaj asked many questions. He again asked the same question, like how, he has a very nice question. He says, if Jiva, if we say the living entity is eternal, isn't it? We are eternal. If we are eternal, Krishna says, Mamai Vansya Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. We are all his parts and partial. Mamai Vansya. These are my parts and partial, my sons. Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. These are, but they are eternal from immemorial time, but they are Sanatana as well. Sanatana means eternal. So we are eternal as well. Then Parikshit Maharaj says, if we are eternal, we are spiritual spark, then how does we are contaminated in this material body? Why are we suffering in this material body? That was the question to him. And he says, please explain more about the Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, Karnodakashayi Vishnu, and Sridakashayi Vishnu, and Hiranyagarbha. So we actually explain in detail in our study session these four things. Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, how he manifests these creations, and how Sridakashayi Vishnu enters into the each atoms and makes it living. That we understood yesterday. And then he asks about the kalpa, vikalpa, kala, what are the reactions, right? So those, also he asked about the dimension of universes, and what are the activities of devotees, what are the varnashram dharma, what are the yuga dharma, that actually elaborately we understood yesterday as well. So by asking this question, this is basically questions is for all of us, isn't it? Anyone in this material world, we should have this question as well. And where we are to go, how can we actually elevate ourselves to the spiritual world, or how can we really kill the miseries of this material world? And he goes on asking so many questions, but and he also inspiring Sukadeva Goswami. He's saying, your words are nectarian, so please continue speaking. And important thing, last question, he says, I have asked you so many questions, so please explain me those. Also, please explain which I have not asked it. Because, it might happen sometimes we do not know about something. How can we ask some questions? Let's say primary three kids asking, he can't ask the question about the equations which are being taught in secondary classes. How this, x square plus 2ab or the mathematical things, he don't know. He can't ask these questions. So in the similar way, Sukadeva Goswami is saying, Parikshit Maharaj is saying, there are many things which I might not ask you. So please, it, please give it to us. Please let us know all those things as well. And then Sukadeva Goswami tests him, are you not fatigued due to hunger and thirst? Do you still want to listen this katha? And Parikshit Maharaj says, because of thirst only I am here. Because a thirst came some days back, and because of thirst I did some mistake. I put the snake to a sage, and right now I'm waiting for my death. So I do not have any more thirst now. So, and your nectarian words are coming that actually are, it's taking away of my thirst as well. So please keep on speaking about Srimad Bhagavatam. And then in chapter 9, in second canto, Sukadeva Goswami started answering to Parikshit Maharaj. He said that, I will narrate you something, a conversation between Lord Brahma and Lord Vishnu. So here, see, again, we are going deeper into deeper. Like, earlier we understood about the conversation between Lord Brahma and Narada Muni. Now we are hearing a conversation between Brahma and Lord himself. So what happened? Because the question being asked that about creation in detail as well. So when after Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, when we see Lord Brahma is there, actually he could not see anything. So before that, actually he asks about question that we Jiva, the first question was, how this jiva, the living entity, is in connection with this material body. And then he explained that the jiva, they are suffering because of aham mameti conception, or aham mameti misconception actually. What is that? Aham mameti, me and mine. So a living entity, out of the conditioned by three modes, these modes of material nature, goodness, passion, and ignorance, persons think that I am the one who is the doer, and because of me everything stands. He starts thinking about his own proud, and because of that it is called as false ego. Because of this conception, the living entity are suffering. This answer given by Shukdev Goswami to Parshit Maharaj. And then he started narrating about the narration between he said that now if we are a pure soul, isn't it? He gave an example, like a pure soul is suffering because of his illusion. Like someone is, in a sleep, he dreams something. When we might have seen many times, when we have a dream, it looks like, we are falling from somewhere and someone is changing to us. We see all these dreams, but when we wake up, we see nothing. No, it was just a dream. And he explained that in the similar way, in this material world, we are just suffering because of illusion. What illusion is? We are not trying to understand that there is something superior or eternal planet is there. And if we go back to that, we will always remain enjoyable. We will always remain eternal as well. Then he starts explaining it more and more. Then he says, you might have heard about the 84 lakh species, 8.4 million species. And then he describes, Prabhupada explains in the purport, saying that 9 lakhs varieties of material bodies are in water. And then 20 lakhs in vegetable bodies, 11 lakhs worms and reptiles, and 10 lakhs birds. And then nearly 30 lakhs in bodies of beast and 40 lakhs as human form. And altogether they are 84 lakhs of varieties of bodies. So we might have heard in India, and he says, 84 84 chakkar we said in India, the circle of 84. So that is basically 8.4 million species. So we go around all the species and we elevate towards human being. And in human being, if we perform well to elevate ourselves to higher planet, it's gold. Otherwise, we again go to the same cycle, and we do not know what next we are going to get, either in a vegetable body, worm, reptiles, birds, or beast, or in the waterly bodies. We don't know. That's a calculation given to Yamaraj. He does the all calculations. But he explains an interesting point. He says, but by bhakti, a person can be free from this misconception. He said, as soon as any living entity start glorifying, hearing and listening about Krishna Katha, he starts cleaning his misconception, because they start understanding that actually we are not this body, we are the soul. And what soul is? Soul is the parts and parcel of Krishna, right? And then he by setting this platform, he narrates the story or discussion between Lord Brahma and Lord himself, Lord Vishnu himself. So on the navel, we see yesterday that in the stem of lotus, Brahma was there, and Brahma could not see anything. He was bewildered. He said, okay, what to do now? I don't know anything. He actually was trying to find something that, okay, something is there to do. Then he heard two words called as tapa. Tapa means tapasya. Just by hearing that, Brahma meditated for thousands of years. For 1,000 celestial years, Brahma did tapasya. And by that tapasya, Lord Vishnu was so much pleased, and he showed his form to him. Then he could actually see Vaikuntha Loka. If you remember, yesterday we have seen that Vaikuntha planet, and that Brahma could see that Vaikuntha Loka by his own eyes over there. And there's a Vaikuntha means, Kunta means misery, and Vai means no. So in Vaikuntha there is no misery, no birth, no death, no old age, no disease. That's why that's called as Vaikuntha. And he explains that in Vaikuntha he could see everyone 400. We just have 200, but he could see everyone as 400, and everyone has their personal plane enjoying. We are here struggling to get some good car, or maybe some person for bike and everything, but there we have special personal plane. Everyone is going and enjoying there. And he could see Mother Lakshmi, goddess of fortune. He's serving Lord Vishnu with great love and respect. And he could actually, he describes properly about the Vaikuntha planet and how it looks, the complexions and the flowers and everything in a very great detail. By saying that, he says, Krishna is actually full of opulences. So there are 6 opulences. Maybe tomorrow we'll take it. Today I don't think we have time. So tomorrow we will understand the 6 opulences of Lord Krishna. What are those? And he explains that no, you are full with the energies of like 4, 16, 5, and the 6 natural opulences. And like Prakriti, Purusha, Mahatattva, ego, and the 25 elements what we have seen yesterday. And what we've seen that smell, touch, and hand, legs, and everything. These are actually some personalities there. So we say no, we know that okay, one sense is eyes, isn't it? But Brahma could see that eyes is a personality there in the Vaikuntha Loka. So all the 25 elements are actually serving Lord Krishna there in the spiritual world. And again, to serve him, they will be coming here in a material creation as well. And we see that the ingredients given by Mahavishnu, because they already existed there, right? And the Sudarshan Chakra. So Sudarshan, it's always remain with Krishna, but he's a person. He's not just a disc rounding. It's a person, right? In the similar way, he could see everything. And then after that, Lord Vishnu, he handshake with Brahma, and then Brahma, he says, I am very much pleased with you. So I am very much pleased with you. Ask for some benediction. So please ask me benediction. And then Brahma asks some questions. So please tell me about your both forms, material forms as well as spiritual form. And he says, please describe about your energies and how it works, because he is ignorant. You remember in the very first sloka of Srimad Bhagavatam, it says, Tene Brahma Hridaya Adi Kaviya Mohyanti Yata Shurya. And one of the qualities that he is the personality who gave the knowledge to Brahma for creation. Tene Brahma Hridaya Adi Kavi. Adi Kavi means Lord Brahma. His name is Adi Kavi as well. Mm-hmm. So that knowledge is being given by Vishnu to Brahma. And here is we are hearing that Lord Brahma is saying the same thing. So he asks about the questions, then about your forms, about the energies. How do you carry this activity? What are those energy? And then the last question he says, please, I request you, please let me do this service without pride and bondage. So that's basically a request. So please guide me to carry out this creation without proud. Why? Because the pride and bondage binds us. So Brahma wanted to be away from this. Okay, I don't want to take credit. We heard yesterday, not before that, when Narada Muni asked him about that, you are the superior and you are actually serving, like meditating on whom? Please tell me. And then he says, he admitted very, very humbly that, okay, yes, people by illusion, they do not know me, that someone is beyond me as well. And that's why out of illusion, they think me as the supreme. So that's again, he says, okay, please make sure that, I do not get pride. And when we do something, we are so proud. It's not good, bad, but the thing is that, for spiritual practices, we need to be more humble than that. And then he asked this question, and Krishna, Vishnu, he explained him in 4 sloka. This is called as seed sloka or Chatursloki Bhagavad as well. So the first time Vishnu gave 4 sloka of Bhagavatam to Lord Brahma, and then it got expanded to Narada Muni, and Narada Muni gave the knowledge to Vyasadeva, And from Vyasadeva, it's actually coming towards down and down and down towards us. In the fourth sloka, I would like to read that fourth sloka translation. He says, the personality of God had said, knowledge about me as described in the scriptures are very confidential. See, we can see that, okay, books are there, but still Krishna is saying it's confidential. Why? He says it has to be realized in conjunction with devotional service. That is why Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam are secret. Even Sri Krishna is told in Bhagavad Gita as well. This is Raj Vidya Rajgoyam Pavitram Udam Uttamam. This knowledge is Raj Vidya, the king of knowledge. Rajgoyam, secret of secrets. Pavitram, it's eternal, pure and purifying as well. And Uttamam, the topmost. And here Vishnu again saying the same thing to Lord Brahma, saying this knowledge is very confidential. Why? And it can only be realized with devotional service. And so I'll explain you those things clearly. So please take it very carefully. And by saying that, he said that in Prabhupada writes that, for devotional practices, we need to follow some Vedi Vidhi. Vedi Vidya is basically the four dharmas. We discussed earlier that Kali was given 4 places by Parikshit Maharaj, and as a follower of Hare Krishna movement or ISKCON, we follow the 4 regulative principles: no meat eating, no illicit sex, no gambling, and no intoxication, which actually helps us to elevate ourselves into the spiritual practices. And these are the 4 pillars of dharma. So Prabhupada writes about that these are the very, very important things in our life to practice devotional services. And then Lord says, "Hey Brahma, it is I, personality of Godhead, who was existing before the creation, when there was nothing but myself." That we seen yesterday by the whole PPT. And then he says, "Nor was there the material nature, the cause of this creation, that which you will see now is I, the personality of Godhead. And after annihilation, what remains will be I, the personality of Godhead." He said, before there was nothing, after there is nothing, it's only me. We existed before and after as well. Right. And then again in the third sloka, he says, "O Brahma, whatever appears to be of any value, if it is without relations to me, has no reality." How to understand this? How to understand that, without Krishna, without his relationship, nothing is a reality. And he says, "Know it as my illusionary energy that reflections which appears to be in the darkness." So let's suppose we have 1 0, means nothing. We have 2 0, again it's 0. 3 0, it's again a 0. 5 0, it's again a 0. So all are 0 0 0, 5 0, 10 0, or 100 zeros. It all actually comes to 0. However, in front of 1 0, if you put 1, it becomes 10. The 0 has a value now just by 1 and 10. If before 2 zeros, if you put 1, it becomes 100. See, imagine the glories of zeros just by putting 1. And when we put 3 zeros, it becomes thousands. And then so goes and goes and goes. So what does it mean? So zeros are whatever we have in this our material opulences. Like, we have a big house, 1 0. Big bank balance, second 0. Big car, third 0. Very good family, fourth 0. And if we put 1, that is Krishna, in our life, then all zeros will actually value us. It will become some sense to us. And that's what is being said by Vishnu to Brahmaji, that anything, whatever you see, without me has no reality. And why saying no reality? Don't take it otherwise. Just try to understand this. Why it is no reality? Because when a person dies, everything is finishes for him. There is a next journey, next thing, everything is new for him now. But if there is Krishna, that next destination can be destined very well by Krishna. Krishna explains in chapter 2 in Bhagavad Gita, Swa alpashta dharmayasha trayate mahato bhayat, means a small devotion, a dharma towards me can save us from huge trouble or problems. And the biggest problem in our life is our death. And no one can avoid it. No one can avoid it with our whatever opulences we have. We sometimes will see it, sometimes the conversation between Narada Muni and Valmiki Rishi, to understand this logic very more, that why there is no reality. Anyway, then he answered third questions by saying, "O Brahma, please know that this universal element enters into the cosmos and at the same time do not enter into the cosmos. Similarly, I myself also exist within everyone created, and at the same time I am outside of everything." See, just a juggling words. How? We seen yesterday. One Vishnu, Mahavishnu, so he is existing, and we can see that all universes are there. It comes out of his, and again he expands himself to enter into each of the universes. That's what he's saying. I exist out of the cosmos as well as inside the cosmos, but still I'm aloof. These three modes, mode of goodness, passion, and ignorance, which actually binds us, the conditioned souls, is being created by him, but he is aloof of it. Right? It's like, how to understand a jailer. Inside a jail, there are criminals are there. A jailer comes to see everyone. The jailer enters inside that boundary of jailer, but he is not a criminal now. He is a kind of controller of that place. Though he is inside the jail, but still he is controller. In the similar way, it's the manifestation is everything by Krishna. He enters here by his energy, still he is aloof. Right? So it might be a bit complicated, but gradually we will take it more and onto that. And then by explaining this, even these four slokas, then say that these transcendental teachings, when transparently transmit in parampara, then there is a transformation in the heart, and that can completely vanquish the turbulence in the material world. So again, the emphasis on parampara is given, and in our Krishna consciousness is ISKCON family. So the parampara is coming from Krishna to Brahma, Brahma to Narada Muni, to Srila Vyasadeva, to Sukadev Goswami, and it goes back to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and then to 6 Goswamis and His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, who is a founder Acharya of ISKCON. So that is how this knowledge is coming through a parampara. We discussed earlier in slok number 3, that when the ripened full is given from one person's hands to another person's, it remains safe, and this is coming towards in parampara as well. Right? And in chapter 10, there is a 10 points being discussed about the topics of Srimad Bhagavatam. There's Atra Sargo Visargascha Sthanam Poshanam Utiya Manumantari Sanu Katha Nirodho Mukti Ashraya. These are the 10 topics of Srimad Bhagavatam, and I think it's anyway 2014 now. So I'll continue with these 10 topics of Bhagavatam tomorrow. Is that okay? And then we will finish this chapter, even canto 10 as well. So we'll discuss this section tomorrow, so that I don't want to stress it or go away. Just we can discuss in a clear way to understand these things more. Any questions or any suggestions?
Prabhu, I have a question.
Yes, please.
Prabhu, what do you mean by Goswami? You said that this parampara has been coming from this tradition from Goswamis, like from Krishna, Vishnu to Brahma, Brahma to Narad, Narad to Sukdev Goswami, and Sukdev Goswami to all the 6 Goswamis, and then Srila Prabhupada. Then who are Goswamis? What do you mean by Goswami?
So Go means senses, and Swami means who has controlled the senses.
Okay.
Right. I think there is a chat is there. Let me see.
Control the sense.
Yeah. So controlling senses, so those personalities who have actually controlled the senses. And in our ISKCON family, we see from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the disciples, the 6 Goswamis. So maybe sometime we'll go into deep onto that and understand it properly. So Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, these are the our acharyas. Basically, in a nutshell, we can understand that this Goswami as the acharyas who are giving us the knowledge of spiritual platforms. So if we basically, when we approach a doctor, we go to a bona fide doctor, and from bona fide doctor, then we get a prescription, isn't it? When we get the prescription for any disease, we take the prescription as advised by the doctor. Let's suppose the doctor says you have a disease and you have to take one medicine, empty stomach, and then one after a lunch, then one after your dinner. And after 7 days, you go back to the doctor and he says, my disease is not being cured yet. The doctor will ask you, have you taken the medicine? He'll ask you to know that if that medicine worked or I need to change something. But if you say, I haven't taken that medicine, so what's the use of them? So this Goswamis actually has given us by studying these Vedas very deeply, they has given us the platform by which we can actually understand and follow their footsteps for self-realization. Right.
Okay. Prabhu, one more question. Just
Yes.
last one.
Yeah, no problem.
Prabhu, see, you said there are 4 principles of ISKCON, like no gambling, no illicit sex, no meat eating, and I think no drinking, correct?
Intoxication, yes.
Intoxication. Prabhu, so that means if like normal human being, we eat meat. So that means if we eat meat, we can't go near God. We can't chant Prabhu's name.
So what the question here?
So that's what my question has been. By eating meat, are we getting farther away from God, or we have to leave meat just to get is meeting it a sin? Is it a sin?
Okay, let's take it another way. Let's try to understand what another way. So when Srila Prabhupada went to the Western world, maybe in US and UK, when we started preaching Krishna consciousness, and in normal case, when we see these Westerners, they are always dictated with eating meat, isn't it? So how could they have transferred their life? If you see if you go to our ISKCON Karuna Bhavan in temple, we see so many kind of non-Indian. I'll say non-Indian because yeah, and they all are practicing Krishna consciousness very properly, isn't it? So
yes.
that Prabhupada had mentioned that it's two-way around. If you say I will give up meat eating and then chant Harinam, or I will take the holy name and chant holy name, there is a dilemma, it will work or not, because
Okay.
the way we are attached to our things, it's not easy to give up. However, Prabhupada says, don't worry about your eating stuffs, everything. Start chanting holy name.
Okay.
Take shelter of holy name, and Krishna will do the job.
Okay.
So it's the other way around. When we surrender to Krishna, so it's basically when you go to doctor prescribes something. It's on to us. How do we take? However, when we see that the medicine is working, we say, okay, we need to do some more and more and more. So in the similar way, Prabhupada says, take the holy name first. When we start chanting the holy name, when you engage your tongue for taking Krishna's name, and with full heart and devotion, Krishna will inspire us to change the taste. See, I'll tell you one thing. Our stomach doesn't want anything. He doesn't say, okay, give me meat or give me, paneer or anything. Who asked, our tongue. Our tongue says, okay, I want this taste. And the tongue also in the first part, the second part, third part of the tongues has different tastes. So it's our tongue. We might sometimes think, okay, I can't live without meat. but it's not the fact. It's just only our desire. But I'm not saying to give up anything. But the thing is that important is that we take the holy name, because we are hearing about Krishna Katha. He's saying chanting of the holy name as a yuga dharma in this Kali Yuga, Harinama Sankirtana. So when we
Mhm.
chant the holy name, forget about anything else. Forget about these 4 regulations now. Just take chanting holy name regularly, maybe 1 round, 2 round, with full faith, and see the magic. So it's other way
Okay.
around.
Okay, bro.
Persons, we don't have to give up everything to take the holy name. First, take the holy name, and gradually the things will go up. Right?
Prabhuji, can I come in there? Can I come in there for a minute?
Yes, please.
Well, yes, I mean, say how Arijit has been asking that question. I mean, say we take meat and we smoke and we drink and we do this. Okay, I've been a smoker. Never mind meat eater or anything else. That's not my line. I've been a smoker for a long time. And I also have been trying to give up smoking for a very, very long time. And it didn't matter what I tried, nothing succeeded. And when I started chanting the Mahamantra, I don't feel like smoking anymore. And it is over 1 year and 1 week since I haven't smoked. But you've got to start somewhere. But don't think about cigarettes or don't think about meat. You just chant the name and Krishna will take care of you. It may be 5 months, it may be 6 months, but when you're ready, you will just not want to intoxicate, to fornicate, to eat meat. That's his problem. It's not your problem. Your problem is chanting the name with devotion. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
So Devendra Prabhu, he's our uncle as well, of my daughters. They say Nana him. So he's coming to our program on Friday from last, I think more than a half year now.
About 18, 19 months.
He said the same thing to me sometimes back as well. He said, once I joined this program, to your program, when I started chanting holy name, and really I'm not smoking anymore. So see the result. What I was saying, the Prabhupada says, take the holy name and Krishna will take care of the rest of the thing. Thank you for sharing this nice.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Much appreciated. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks again for extending our time. And forgive me for getting a bit longer.
Yeah, I think like 40 minutes, 45 minutes just goes away. It doesn't, it's almost like we have to look at the watch again. It's like, it's already 45 minutes. What's time goes really fast.
Frankly, I used to see the watch all the time because I don't want to extend this, as because we are giving our time every day. So let's stick with some time, and then I'm okay. But it's again, everyone is there, and I really appreciate you all for actually extending your time regularly and trying to listen and taking participation in it. Just 1 minute. It's been explained in Srimad Bhagavatam that there are 3 persons get benefited. The one who speaks Bhagavatam, the second who hears Bhagavatam, and the third one who actually thinks of Bhagavatam. Like when we talk, they think about, okay, what's coming to us, and we ask some doubts and questions and clearance. So these all 3 are actually happening here. So we all are getting benefited from Bhagavatam. So the time will go on, this fly. If you see any videos of ISKCON, it's actually minimum 2 hours. Go on to search on YouTube and any of the YouTube, like any Bhagavatam Katha on from ISKCON, especially I'll say, everything goes from 2 hours. And many a time, 1 or 2 slokas being discussed. We are discussing our chapters. We just discuss 1 or 2 slokas for hours and hours. Because there is so much, because Krishna is unlimited, and hence his glory is unlimited.
Who is the third person who gets benefited? So one is you who is saying Bhagavatam, one who is me who is hearing that, and who is the third one?
Third one is who is contemplating more and asking some inquiries or more, like
Okay,
asking
okay.
questions.
Okay.
And an important thing that asking questions should be in a submissive way to understand and clear our doubt, not in a challenging mode.
Definitely. Definitely.
So because of that's being said, no, because we are talking about Krishna, and if we see, I'm a person like you only, right? I have a job, I have family, but it might happen that I might not know everything. But if you have a question like challenging, okay, this person knows or not, because you are actually challenging Srimad Bhagavatam. So
Okay.
that
Okay.
is basically offering to Krishna himself. So that is why
Definitely.
he said we should be submissive on hearing and about asking question. Asking question is not at all bad, but the mood should be to understand what it is rather than in a challenging mode.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Thank you,
Prabhuji,
everyone. Yes,
Prabhuji, if you have time, just have one question. Like, what's the importance of the mala, Tulsi mala, and the tilak, which Vaishnav have generally?
yeah, Prabhu, I read your message. Even I read a message that's also as 4 lakhs of in human form. Yes. So we'll discuss it one day for sure.
Okay.
And the tilak we is called as Urdhva Pundra tilak. This is the if you see these 2 lines, these are the lotus feet of Krishna, and the middle one is actually Tulsi Devi, and we will discuss about these glories again. And Tulsi Mala is basically, I'm just keeping it short, but we will discuss it one day definitely. So Tulsi Mala is basically, there's a difference between dogs. One dog, pet dog, and one dog roaming around, isn't it? So the one who is roaming around here and there, no controller of that. Anyone comes and he can beat him or go away with that. But the one who has a controller, they tie a belt in that their dog, and they take to them with a walk and everything with them. And when we put the Tulsi Mala, it means actually Tulsi Mala is actually very much beloved to Lord Krishna, and by putting Tulsi Mala in our body, we surrender our whole body to him. So we become his servant, and we say, we are actually his God, his dog now.
So, Prabhu, I mean, even though we are doing our karma daily life, going to office, leading a like married life, can we still put on Tulsi Mala like you have put? Like,
I'm putting, I go to my job, I have my wife, I have my family, I have my relatives, I have you all. So what's the issue? So the thing that, when we do put Tulsi Mala, we need to follow some rules and regulations. So that we need to follow. That's the only thing. So there is no
okay.
harm, there is no wrong in, see, so I answer my analogy, my thoughts. It's not from any scriptures or not from anyone. So if a lady can put very nice, what we say, sindoor and Mangal Sutra to show that she is actually a wife of a husband, then when we surrender to God, what's the wrong with when we put our Tulsi Mala and Tilak on our head? There is no harm, isn't it?
Okay. Yes, Prabhu. Yes. Thank
Yeah.
you.
So in fact, there are many things, but we can discuss along. However, yeah.
Sorry,
Thank you,
when my
Prabhuji.
questions are a bit, when maybe it sounds a bit stupid. So sorry.
No, nothing is stupid in the spiritual world. When we discuss, it's actually glorious. We explore more on those. Thank you for extending time. Hare Krishna. Granthara
Hare Krishna.
Bhagavatam ki.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hare
Hey,
Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Thank you.
Krishna.
Thank you.
Krishna.
Hare
See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow. Bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.